Join our knowledgeable hosts as they dive into the captivating universe of comic books, movies, TV shows, and pop culture. Get ready for vibrant discussions and a shared enthusiasm for all things superhero and beyond. A comic podcast straight from the panels. This is Beyond the Capes.
All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Cape, brought to you by the Uncensored Nerds Network. We have the creative team with us for Buried Long, Long Ago, a new book coming out soon. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having us.
All right. We're excited to have you. It's going to be a great book to talk about. As I like to ask every guest before we start every episode, of all the things you could have picked and stay with, comic books is one of those satisfying and heartbreaking things to get into. What gives you the drive to keep going in this field?
Who wants to go first?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Like it ain't a paycheck. It ain't that.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah, the bank appreciates it.
Yeah. I don't know. Just the love of it. I mean, it's a storytelling medium. I just love it. It's so accessible. Anyone can really jump into it. You're only limited by, your talent, what you can write or you can draw. It's just so open. I think that's why I keep coming back to it. I mean, even times where I think like this story is not good for this this medium, then I'll go see a story that does, or a comic that does something similar to what I want to do. I'm like reinvigorated. It's great.
Definitely.
Side chat's going fun.
I mean, I could say like with comics, because I mean, for my sake, I always wanted to do art. I was trying to figure out what kind, but yeah, it's just a blast. I mean, every time to do it, every panel drawn, every one is fun, and it's always challenging. It's always like, because like a lot of things, like if I can draw like if I could draw people, but I can't draw this, then some jobs that's fine. But with comics, you need to know how to do everything. You need to know how to draw people. You know how to draw cars, cities, the forests, like children, old people, young people, different time periods. And so every single time, it's just kind of like, all right, well, it's challenging, it's fun, it's creative. There's what's not to like. And also, yeah, and the bank wants me to keep working, so that helps too.
Yeah.
Always.
Yep. That pesky mortgage.
For me, it's meeting you guys, right? Like, I feel like I have a lot more friends now that are, since I've started like creating comics, than I did beforehand. It's one of those things too, like where you run into each other at a show or a convention, and you're not really talking work. Like, there is some work talk that goes on, but it's more, how are the kids? What are you doing? Like, how's things? So I like that.
Definitely. Yeah, comic books is a great uniting kind of force that keeps us all in it, despite the ups and downs. Now, for you guys, was this always kind of a first choice, getting into like this mode of creating or storytelling, or was it something that kind of caught you off guard as, I didn't see myself here but it works for what I do, for my style, and I definitely enjoy it?
You gotta yell at one of us to go.
I was gonna say we're gonna keep going.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm always last. I'm always last. That's just the way it is.
We gotta go off the title of the book. So Anthony,
okay.
Keep putting.
There you go.
I like film. I like books. But comics was always something that like I wanted to do, but always fell apart because I didn't think I could draw well enough. I mean, eventually, like did. And like, that's the route I was going to go for a minute. Just teaching myself how to do stories that fit my art style. But then thanks to social media, like comics changed completely, because before it was like I had to find an artist that was, in my area that I could work with, that I knew, that I trusted. Now it's social media. You could, find, connect, pay talent there. So from that changed everything. That led to my first self-published book, finding the MadCave talent search, and just the career in general. Without that, I wouldn't have anything.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But yeah, I was gonna say because when I got started, I thought I was gonna do. My plan was to do animation. I always liked comics, but there was I remember being a kid being like, all right, I think I can draw like Fred Flintstone style, or like I could draw like Jim Davis. I'm not sure if I could pull off Jim Lee, so I think I'm gonna go animation route. And like comics, I always like animation, and so that's the route I was going towards. And I tried it for a while, but it was a lot of like film festivals and pay to play stuff, and this would have made a great hobby. This would have made a great career, and I was looking for a career. And I've said this before, that the just doing the storyboards because I would make my own animations, and it would be like me and my wife cooking these things up. And but then what I found I really enjoyed the most was figuring out the storyboards. And so I was like, all right, maybe I should try illustration and comic books. And long story short, one thing led to another, and I'm still doing
it. For me, it's always been the plan since 2015. That's when I started lettering, and so that, like I said, that was always the plan from that point forward. Before that, I was just like doing regular 9-to-5 office jobs that weren't fulfilling in any sort of way, but was always a fan of comics, always going to the comic shop every Wednesday and picking up my pull list and all of that. So I was still doing comic stuff. I just wasn't lettering or creating or anything like that.
About what year did everyone start? Alex, when did you start?
When did I start?
Yeah.
I started for comics about 2010, something like that.
You've been doing it the longest then. I started about when Justin started. Yeah.
Because I remember, so I made a movie. I made spent all of 2009 making an animation, which was like a half-hour Christmas thing called South Pole.
I've seen it.
All right.
It's glorious. We got to talk about that.
But so I spent this entire year cooking this thing up, put it in festivals, and a lot of horror stories from that, which are now hilarious. But I think like a grand total, I made $20 off this whole project. And yeah, so that was 2009, and 2010 was about like, okay, I need to switch gears. So about 2010, 2011 is when comic books started again. And then I was doing this while having a day job where I was a courier. And then 2014 is when I switched over doing it full time. And yeah, so still in it. So just shy of 11 years.
Ooh.
Hooray for me.
Yeah. No. It's a long battle. And I feel, especially Justin and you guys on that, because I still have my day job at the operating room, and then as soon as I get done, I come and do this, and it's so much easier and de-stressing to come to this. By far.
You know what? That's what I did. I delivered medical equipment. That was my. I was a courier, and so I drove to every hospital in Massachusetts. I went there at least once and stumbled around like, oh, hey, I got the stuff. Who wants it?
Someone will meet you and get it.
Yep. Yeah, sure.
Well, now we have to know about this 2009 movie that you were working on. How did that all start?
Oh, my Christmas movie, South Pole.
Yes.
No, so what happened was, Yeah, I was. So I did a few shorts that were like it was like a couple minutes long, and then I checked around festivals, and I was thinking like trying to figure out like get a job somewhere, and I called and I like to say it's because it was 2008 and like the whole financial crisis was going on. It was either that or I wasn't very good. I don't know. I'll take your pick, but I remember I called basically every English speaking animation studio, like, hey, do you have a job? A lot of them said sure, and then they immediately went bankrupt. One of them was I was going to do character designs for a speed racer show that was going to happen, and if the movie was a success. And yeah, that didn't work out. So I was trying to think of what to do. I was trying to think of like what I could do portfolio, show that hey, look, I'm a hardworking, and try to get someone else in the festivals. And I remember hearing that The Simpsons first episode was a Christmas special because it's such a cliche for animation on TV and everything. So I started cooking up an idea of trying to think of something to do. And a friend of mine had a poster of like a world map up in their house. And on top, where North Pole said this is where Santa lives, down on the South Pole it says this is where evil Santa lives. And I was like, oh, that's a great idea. So I stole their idea and had a story about Santa's evil brother who hates Christmas, and he's actually going to cancel Christmas. And he goes through like Fox News, 24-hour news media to like badmouth Santa Claus. It becomes a big boycott against Christmas, and Santa's like, what the hell's going on? And then everybody boards up their chimneys and yeah, feel free to look it up on. I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere. It
sounds like when you guys are
okay.
When you guys are done with this, it sounds like it's a perfect comic book adaptation,
right?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
once a year. That's gonna be my holiday tradition. Watching that video.
I have a buddy of mine, Steve Grez, always writes me every Christmas like, hey, we're watching a movie. I'm like, there's one. I don't even watch it every year. It's like, I'm glad I got one fan of this.
All right, well, that brings us to why we are here, and that is for Buried Long, Long Ago. How did this all come about? How did you guys get it?
Mm-hmm. How do we get it going?
Yeah, how did this? Obviously, I know you said you were the MadCave talent search. Did you guys all enter as a team, or was this kind of the pieces of the puzzle got connected? That's how the story flourished.
Yeah, it took a while for me before even MadCave could do create our own stuff. So when I first started with the talent search, they were only doing like their own IPs. I did maybe 3 or 4 books there under their IP before the creator owned imprint actually opened. I guess not imprint, but their division. But before that, Alex and I were trying to get it out all over the place. It was a lot of yeses, maybes. Can you change this? Can you do this? Can you turn it into a graphic novel? So I'm reformatting it as a graphic novel. Can you turn it into, I don't know, a webcomic, web series, something like that? Okay, well, let me try that. And it went through so many of those for about 4 years before we landed at MadCave. And like those other times, like they just collapsed or ghosted us, or it was terrible. But yeah, eventually we did land at MadCave, and MadCave was very welcoming right away. Since Alex and I had both worked there previously on other books, and great. Like just going through that hell that we went through to going to MadCave was just crazy. Just they opened to everything, very surprisingly. Just they're mostly hands off with a lot of stuff, but for this book, it was like totally hands off. Like they only stepped in if you asked, like, what do you think of this idea? And then they would give you their feedback off of that. James, our editor, was so awesome with all of that. Like, not that I don't mind collaborating with the editor and like, taking their feedback and changing the book, but it was just a different process than I'm used to anywhere else. But yeah, that was 5 years getting that ready. And then like the idea was probably various forms, 10 years. So it's a long time project coming.
Awesome. And for everyone listening, if you had to give us a quick pitch of what is this story about, what would be the elevator pitch for this story?
I've been saying What was it? I can't remember how the thing rolls off. I have a quick one, but it ain't that quick right now.
Hey, we got time.
It's a true crime fairy tale, basically. That's the fastest way I can get to it. The true crime is this woman from LaPorte, Indiana, would put ads in Lonely Hearts newspapers for men to come to her farm, bring their money. And when they would show up with their money, she would kill them and bury in the hog pit. And this repeated at least 14 times or more. So it's that story, but told from the point of view of her 3 children. So that's when we get in kind of the fairy tale elements of it. And we stray quite far from the original story. But the core of the story with Bill Gunnis is very much all true. Yeah, there you go.
Perfect. Yeah, that sums it up. I think what I appreciate most, being from Chicago myself, I think it was in the second or third page, the ope on the train has to be like the best detail ever, because that is something that is said commonly. Even in the middle of surgery, I can tell you that ope slips at least once a day.
So good. I think that's the only issue that I got to slip it in, but there's a few goodnesses and things like that in there we get to put in.
Definitely. Now, do you guys have family in the Midwest? Because I briefly have heard about the story briefly, but I feel like a lot of people don't draw comic books or settings from the Midwest. Is this a story you found? You're like, this would be such a great dark comic book, or because you guys have familiarity with the Midwest?
Yeah, I'm from here. I'm the county where the crimes happen is the next county over. So I'm born and raised here. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of Midwest horror. I think Indiana gets a spotlight sometimes, but not so much like the rural settings, I guess, of it all. You know, the rundown areas, which is a shame because there's a lot of weird things out here. Yeah, we do now. Here we go. Especially that time period, that's something like that. But yeah.
So for this story and making it, so I'm assuming you had a script, obviously it kind of writes itself since you are basing this off of a true story. How long did you have this before Alex got to jump in with some artwork? Because the artwork is also fantastic. The Bloody Hooks was probably my favorite panel. That had to be fun to draw.
Yeah. Not too long. I think it was a year or less. At least first issue was done, and then once a publisher was kind of interested in it, then it was like, okay, time to find somebody. And then it was just messaging everyone I loved and followed on Twitter, and just to see who would reply. And like, Alex was the one that's like, yes. And it wasn't just yes then, it was yes for the whole trip to get there. Justin too. Justin was on there when we first did the initial run of it too. So he stuck with it as well. It's just crazy trip, really.
Yeah.
2020, I think that's when it was.
Alex,
and the pandemic. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, the pandemic, I always say, is like the best thing. There's got to be a documentary, because the indie comic scene, that was probably the best thing that could ever happen, was the pandemic boom. That just gave us so much time to start getting things in perspective. For Alex and Justin, this story, your guys' Alex, your art was really great for the dark, the hooks. The pig farm is always a favorite. For everyone that doesn't know or has never seen a pig, pigs will eat anything. I've seen this. It has to be fun to draw. Justin, I love lettering. Everyone makes fun of me for picking out like my favorite lettering for a comic book, but it sets a tone. Because I always tell people, if you give absolute Batman and tell you it's going to be neon pink lettering, it's going to take the edge away from Batman right away. So like the gold and like the gothic letters, just everything just really lent to the style of this. Was this easy for you guys to just tune your styles into the story? Because I mean, the flow of it seems really, really well put together. And I have a feeling with the story that he gave you, it had to be easy to be like, you know what, I got exactly what the assignment is.
Oh yeah. Justin, you want to go first, or?
Yeah, I'll go first. So Alex, this is like the 10th book that we've worked on together.
The plan is we're to work at every single publisher that's around, right? Indie,
Right.
majorly, like that's the goal. That's
so I have a special like Alex template. Like I have a special like Alex style set that I just like save over here, right? Just because we've worked together so many times, like I know that there's going to be at least one panel or one page where I'm just like, well, that's the most disturbing thing I've ever seen until the next issue, right? So I knew what to expect working with Alex. The great thing with Anthony was that it like I think the only thing that you like were like insistent isn't the right word, but you were like, we have to get this part right, was the beginning fairy tale stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I think I went through maybe like 2 or 3 sort of samples of it before we sort of nailed the final look of it. And you know, I'm glad that you were there to push me to do that, because it's not something that I normally get to do.
Yeah, that was different because everyone had their own kind of take and opinion on that. Should we capitalize the first letter? Should we change it was just like we really tried to get the first caption box right on that. Hit it off right. But yeah, it looks awesome. I love it so much. The borders and everything. It's perfect.
Yeah, that whole that intro was a ton of. Actually, you know what? Let me grab this real quick. That I had this book from like when I was a kid.
Oh God, yeah, the witness books.
That I found like right before we started the thing. It was for anybody listening, is one of these like kids picture eyewitness books from like 1991. And I was before we started the project, I was visiting my folks, and they had this down in the basement. And I was like, oh, I gotta grab that. I gotta be able to use this. So it was nice to tell my mother this is not a tax write-off. 30 years later. But yeah, it was those first few pages were like a blast to draw because like I hadn't really done much of that, but you know, growing up, I've always been a fan of like, you know, knights in shining armor and all that type of stuff. So it was great to actually jump into that. And then it was funny just to completely shift gears on page 4 and like, all right, that was like its own like little mini story. Now we're with the kids, and it just completely shifted gear. But it was kind of like, okay, that was that project, and now we're on to this project, and didn't think about that again until we getting into the coloring. I'm like, oh, that's right, this whole other like fairy tale. Like, I just remember Anthony was psyched because I put a wizard in there.
Yes.
And I was like, that was like my first, okay, I'm doing good. This is going to work out. Everything's going to be great.
It wasn't just a wizard. It was like a star and moon hat wizard.
Yeah, it like the stupid, like big,
yes,
like Saturn on there. And
so happy.
That's the classic. You gotta have one of those.
But
no, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, getting in that whole world. Yeah, I mean, there's some. The weird thing was, it was because this was like a true story, and because everything else was all like made up, or it might have been like, oh, this is based off of this, which was told me by like someone's cousins, brothers, uncles, whatever. But knowing that like this actually happened, she never got caught. It was like Anthony telling me, like, I mentioned like, oh, look at it, like this picture's crazy, and Anthony's like, oh, well, you should know that this was like this guy especially got like hacked up, and there was like defense wounds especially, and I was like, oh, that like this is like that's less fun. Like, oh, I gotta try to treat these people with as much respect as I can.
I mean, in the book, like minor spoilers. I mean, we do know she kills people, but we don't show her killing anyone in the book actually at all. There's as much respect. I mean, there's no victims in this. Like we changed everyone's name, but like we don't show any scenes like that in this book.
Yeah. But
Respect, right?
which is impressive because some of the scenes are the meat grinder. For everyone that you just need to get the first issue so you could know what I'm talking about. Again, I love anatomy. I see it every day. I saw two brains today. I always love the detail for that is always incredible. So even though you might not show it, there's very little left to the imagination, and it's some wicked art.
Yeah, I mean, the aftermath for sure. We show.
I don't know if you can see. I got the Atlas of Human Anatomy and that big monster.
Good old netters.
Yep, that's I've pulled that thing out a zillion times. It's like 900 pounds, but yeah.
Yeah, not putting gore in a comic book is not going to happen. You got it. Like telling the sun not to shine during the day.
That's why that Christmas didn't work out. There was he gets a bloody nose in that. I think that's about it.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, it gets pretty brutal.
Well, what's crazy about this book too is I feel like when people do a lot of horror books, we kind of get like the intro story, and then slowly for the first issue, nothing really happens to like that last panel, and we really don't see any action till issue 2. You guys went 0 to 60, down play on page 3, 4, 5, back to 0 to 60, then a nice little brief like 1-page interlude, and then just ended it on one of the most grotesque creatures I've seen in a while. Which is I think it made it a lot more exciting out of all the horror comic books that I have read in a while.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart at the end. Yeah, that was I don't want to go with the ending, but yeah, that last panel was that was like an all-day one. Like, all right, let's get into this. And I know there's so much detail that's like lost because like that wasn't there, but it's like, hey, no, it's fine. It's final product is what we're going for. So, but yeah, that one was crazy.
Yeah, no, it came out really well from what I saw. Now with this series, as you kind of go down the story and we get more of the story for you guys, so is this more true crime, or are we going to start to see the obviously there's a supernatural element. Everyone will have to read to find out what it is, but is this more just like a break in reality, or are we going to find out down the road that people might not be a little bit more crazy? There might be something more sinister at work.
Kind of spoilers. I don't know. It's definitely not like a Pan's Labyrinth story where it's the children escaping. It's definitely they're facing both horrors, the domestic and whatever might be beyond the hog pit. So it's there. Both of them are there. Which one's worse? We'll see.
We'll find out.
Hopefully they don't combine.
Now, that would be devastating all around to Indiana. Poor Indiana.
They'll be all right.
Yeah, they'll be all right. They'll heal eventually. Now, when you wrote this story, obviously based on the true story, we don't have an ending because obviously she was never caught. So this is your chance to kind of make your own ending and or close some loops of whatever lore you create for the story. Was that the hard part of kind of finishing off this story, just because there's not like a clean resolution? It's just someone did this, they never caught him, so you can really go kind of any way you want with the story.
Yeah, we definitely deviate. By issue 4, it'd probably be pretty obvious that we're not going to stick with what actually happened. I mean, there's tons of fun theories about what not fun, but there's tons of theories that I think what happened to Belle. I mean, like, so the story is that she burnt the house down and they found a body in the basement, but the body was significantly smaller size in her frame. And then, of course, after that, they started to find the bodies and they realized there's something else going on here. But yeah, what probably happened was she definitely took the money and ran. If she had an accomplice, I don't know, but I don't think she would have disappeared like she did. I think that she showed her money to the wrong person, or someone saw her money and offed her and threw her in a ditch somewhere. And that's probably Belle's story, to be honest. Because I don't think she would have stopped. She would have kept going, or she would have fumbled somewhere on the way. I mean, my theory, anyways.
That's how it usually plays out.
A bigger monster got her in the end, is what I'll say for sure.
Definitely. Now, obviously, you guys, it seems like you guys have, known each other for quite a while, done a lot of work with each other. Whenever you have a team like this kind of come together that has that familiarity, is there any difficulties writing a story, or does it just feel because we've had so much interaction and work with each other that it really isn't, it's not, I wouldn't say it's not work, because it obviously is. You have to submit stuff by the end of the day to get paid. But does it flow a lot easier just having that reputation and that kind of that flow with each other?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'll message anyone about anything. I found like a Crosby ornament, and I'm like, "Hey, Justin, do you want this?" He's like, "No, I got to already," or something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's good to just message them about whatever. Usually, I mean, it is typically related about work, but I feel like I could talk about anything that's going on.
Yeah, you.
But this book in particular.
Sorry, you sent me a couple messages like after I had lettered. I forget what issue, and you were just very complimentary, very positive about the work that I was doing. So it wasn't. So yes, I guess what I'm saying is that those open lines of communication are there to encourage better stuff.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Always helps. Was there any difficulty writing this book?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was a lot of the biggest problem was getting the kids down right. I think that was a big roadblock for me through the whole process of getting to the finish line with the book, because I don't think we really get to see much of the kids in the first issue. And that's what I wrote originally. And it did change a lot from what I had to the MadCave. But the kids really shine in like issue 2. And I think what came from that, it was just realizing like I have kids that are the same age as the kids in this story. I'm just going to use them. They crack me up. I'll just throw them in there. And then once I did that, everything just clicked. It was finally coming together. But yeah, that was the biggest hurdle, was finding the kids' voices and just their personalities and how they fit into this world. But yeah, once I looked around the living room, I got an idea.
Perfect inspiration.
Yeah.
Alex, Justin, was there any hard parts for you guys?
Justin, go ahead and I'll come on mine. I feel like a lot of this is probably my fault.
The hardest part for me, there were two things that I felt, two like specific scenes that I thought were challenging. I don't want to say hard. I think it was a good challenge. It sort of pushed me to not do things like I normally would. One is definitely those fairy tale style caption boxes at the beginning, and there's a scene from issue 2 or 3 where the kids are on. I'm trying to do this without revealing major spoilers. If I say something I'm not supposed to, someone just like cut me off immediately. The children
we'll edit this out.
Yeah, thank you. The children are on top of a hill playing, and then they hear something, and it's sort of the way it was described in the script. I felt like I couldn't do something like I normally would. Like I had to sort of experiment or push myself a little bit. And that was probably my biggest challenge. Because like I said, I've worked with Alex on so many other books that like I know like what to expect. I know what I'm going to get.
Plenty of room.
I'm
for
saying that.
McDonald's.
I'm saying that in a positive way. I'm not saying that as a negative.
In the best way, the best way possible.
Yes.
Sure.
Man, I'm gonna go. I just feel like I'm just like digging that hole deeper.
Yeah, I really ought to leave you some more room to put. I know, I crammed those panels.
I think I would honestly.
He knows he's doing.
I feel it. I would feel better right now if I had actually legitimately given away spoilers to the series than saying what I just said.
Well, no, you're good. So yeah. So for my sake, I'll say any difficulty with this was really the kids trying to make sure they look like because like I'm blanking on that, like, but like one's a little bit older but not too much older than one's like she's teenager but she's like, you know, like so trying to make sure they look the age that they're supposed to be. And I was like, and it's not like, you know, if they're in like one or two shots, that's one thing. These are like the main characters, these kids, and I gotta make sure that they look the right age. They look like kids, which I mean, how many comic books have you seen where they have like little kids and it's just like, oh, it's a dude with a big head? And so I was like trying hard. I don't know if I pulled it off or not. I might not have, but I was trying to make sure they looked like the age they were, and that then like you saw it and like, oh no, that's totally like a 7-year-old right there, or whatever. But yeah, other than that, and just trying to lay out the farm from like the like I don't know if you know this. He sent me like, because Anthony had this like huge folder of like, all right, here's like newspaper clippings, here's handwritten notes, here's what they look like. This is some victim. This is like all like layouts of the farm, and I made out like this like 3D, like, okay, your house is gonna be right here, the pig's gonna be here, and kind of try to lay it out as close as I could, and like spent a couple of days like, is this correct? And then I realized I never did a wide shot of the whole thing. So I guess I could have just
we did an overhead shot in issue 2. It's there.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it's there.
But yeah, so yeah, I was just trying to, and also trying to pay respect to like the fact this is a true story. But yeah, no, the hardest part was probably the kids. And
I gotta imagine that's difficult.
It's kind of funny how
the good news, Jeff,
how hard we put into making it historically accurate.
the hardest part of the book, staying accurate.
We got all kinds of things coming out of the ground.
Yeah. Well, you know, you can't have that. If one's not working, then the other's not going to work, right? You know, like if you're having a sandwich, the bread is stale, and the whole thing stinks.
There you go.
You know.
Exactly. And Justin, I was going to say, you shouldn't feel bad about what you said, because the nice thing is someone could contact you, like, hey, Justin, I'm working with Alex, and you like say no more. Here's the Alex template. You're gonna want these options available. Trust me, it's gonna work out.
The folder's called Thrice Not Again.
now that I know how much work he puts into just like backgrounds, right? Like making 3D models of the farm and all of this work. I'm definitely going to do my best to cover more of it.
At least 50% of the panel has to be just pure dialogue.
Perfect. All right. You know what's gonna happen? I'm gonna start like slacking. Like, oh, in that case, I'm not gonna do this part, and then you have the panel over here when this is all crap.
All right, perfect. We got a plan in place. Now, when making a story like this and kind of deciding how it ends and kind of how you want the story to finish out, if you want to leave it open-ended or you want to close the loop and really finish the story. Did you guys have an ending in mind? Was it all just kind of like, you know what, this is the general ending. I don't know quite how we're going to get there, but this is how I want it to end. This is how many issues I want. Or right now, is it still kind of, let's just keep putting the story out there and we'll see when it naturally feels like an end?
We had the ending in mind. It's more where Alex took it. Alex took it over the top with some designs at the end. And it just, like, going back to the wizard, like, Alex tried a lot of things, like the very expressive faces with the kids, the wizard hat. And like every time I was just like, yes, let's go. Like, without saying this stuff, we just clicked on all of it. And then like this design at the end, I'm like, is this from such and such movie? And he's like, yeah, people coming from that movie.
Yeah, that's spoilers. Yeah, I was totally looking at this certain thing from a certain movie, and he's like, this reminds me of this. I'm like, yes, because it is from that. I have the picture right here, and I'm trying to get ideas from that. It's not a complete lip-off.
Nice.
It's a homage.
Yeah, perfect. A tribute to.
Sure.
Now, yeah. Do you guys? So, how many issues are we looking at for this story?
We have 5.
5, right? Yep.
Yeah. That's
Awesome.
it.
And is this a story you would want to leave open-ended to come back, or is this kind of, you want to do like almost like a one and done and explore maybe other, either not necessarily Midwest true crime stories, but kind of keep it like a collection of true crime? Or would you want to build a universe off of this story?
Maybe more Midwest stories, I guess. The true crime is touchy with me for sure. If it's something that's beyond 100 years old, I think that's okay. But even then, like, even with Bell, this book, we're pretty sensitive on what we show, what we do not do, and a lot there. It would really just be depending on the, whatever true story there is out there. But I mean, the Midwest is full of a lot of, I'm just growing up in the area with all these stories. I mean, even the steel mills are kind of weird and creepy with all the deaths and stuff out there. So I thought about doing something with that. But yeah, if we could get the band all back together, it'd be great.
Do it.
Perfect. Well, that brings us to the whole point, everyone listening. What is our timeline looking when we could get this in our hands?
The final order cutoff is March 24th, and the on-shelf date is April 16th. All of it's creeping up pretty fast.
Awesome. So for everyone listening, if you're interested in the story, go to your LCS, put it on the pull list, tell them you want to read this, look forward to it. For everyone listening that wants to follow you guys and stay up to date, where's the best place to follow you guys?
For me, Blue Sky and Instagram right now. @ _Cleveland. @ _Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm over in Blue Sky as well, and Instagram as well. And yeah, and I think I'm still on Twitter, but I'm barely ever on there anymore. And Reds, I think that's something. I'm not. I was on Facebook, and then something happened. No, I'm not on Facebook. So for all the grandparents out there, you can skip that one. But yeah, no, I just Google Alex Cormack. I'll come up somewhere.
You can follow me on Instagram, Justin _Birch _letters. It's mainly just me posting about books that are in my own personal collection.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming on and discussing this book. Like I said, it was a great story. If you like any type of true crime stories, a little supernatural element, check it out. Very long ago, coming out by MadCave. Follow everyone that's here. Go ahead and also give us a follow Beyond the Capes on the Uncensored Nerds Network. We have a whole bunch of different shows. Plot Hole Productions, Ben Templesmith has a show with us, Comic-Con podcast, and more. So give us a follow, give them a follow, go to your LCS, tell them you want to see this on the shelves, and we look forward to hearing back from you guys later.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you.
No problem. Glad to have you. Everyone listening, have a good night.